Today we're gonna make dinner rolls, and dinner rolls are among my favorite breads. They're easy to make, and good thing is you can have them for dinner. Honestly, let me tell you, I have them for breakfast or all during the day if I need to snack. I just love the dinner rolls, so that's what we're going to make today. And I wanted to use my mixer, my electric mixer, but the thing is, I ordered the glass bowl to use in the mixer, but it's not here yet. And I think it's beneficial when I mix everything or when I'm using the mixer so you see what's going in the bowl. I don't want to use anything that's not going to allow you to see what's in here. So bear with me. Hopefully in my next video, I will have my glass mixing bowl to use with my electric mixer. So that way you can see how I mix my dough using the mixer. But kneading is something that I also like to do. So bear with me. I love to knead. I mean, it's just the old-fashionedness of kneading your dough and baking your bread. And I'm sure some of you love that, to knead the bread. So let's get this bread started. The first thing I'm going to use is 2 cups of warm water. This water is about 105 degrees, and I just take it from my tap, and it must be just warm enough to the touch, and that's what I do. And to this warm water, I'm going to add 2.5 tablespoons yeast, active dry yeast. I'm using the bulk yeast and not the packaged yeast. 2.5 tablespoons of active dry yeast. I'm going to add that to this. Put that away. And in here, I have a 1/3 cup of sugar. I'm going to have the ingredients listed in the description for you, so you don't have to write everything as I do this, but you must watch the video to see what I'm doing. I'm adding a 1/3 cup of sugar to this. We add a 1/3 cup of sugar, and I will add 1/4 cup of oil. Like some people use olive oil. I'm just using regular canola oil. So it's a 1/3 cup of oil I'm going to put in here. And then close this up. What I'm going to do is let me get my whisk. I'm going to just give this a little swirl, not too much, just a little swirl. Get everything together in there. And then I'm going to put this away and let it sit for at least 5 minutes for the yeast to proof. I like to use this method, as I mentioned in other videos. I allow the yeast to proof because you don't want to start putting everything in there and all of a sudden the yeast is not good. Because sometimes you are so anxious to bake and then just add the flour and everything. When it's time to rise, your dough will not rise. So always use this step. This is what the yeast should look like. You see how it looks like it's bubbling? This is how you know that the yeast is good and ready to use in this recipe. Don't miss this step. A lot of times we are anxious, we miss this step, and the bread turns out being so bad. This recipe calls for I use 6 cups of flour, but initially I'm going to add 5 cups of flour in here and then use the rest of it in the kneading process. So 6 cups of flour, but I'm starting with 5 and then use the rest of it kneading. I may use all of the remaining 1 cup or not, but for now, we're going to go with the 5 cups of flour in here. And we're just going to like put this in like this. 5 cups of flour. And on top of that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons salt. Always add salt to your bread, your yeast bread. if you don't add salt, the bread is not going to taste good. Salt gives the bread its taste. You know what we do when we're cooking? We add salt, right? It adds that taste, it brings out the taste. So 2 teaspoons salt. Now I'm using the dough whisk to mix everything together. If I were using the electric mixer, this is where the electric mixer will come in for now, but I am simply just using they call this the Danish whisk or the dough whisk. It's very effective in helping you like mix everything and bring everything together. Very, very good. It works better than the regular whisk like this one. This one will have a lot of problem using, but with this one, you can definitely see that it's bringing everything together real fast. So we're just going to like do this like this, and then once it's all combined, we're gonna take it off here. So as you can see, I've already floured the board using some of the flour from the 1 cup. And we're not going to put everything on here right away. So we'll take the dough that we've just made and just drop it onto the board. I'm going to set this bowl aside because we'll be using that later. So all you're going to do in this step, as you can see I'm doing, just add the flour as you need because it's going to be sticky. And then to follow a simple motion, you do this, push it in, out, roll it forward to you, and just do that. If you need flour, you put a little bit, that. And I'm going to do this for at least 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah, and that's where the exercise comes in. Because if you don't knead your bread well, then the bread is not going to turn out good. The dough. See how smooth it looks? Very, very smooth. The work has to go into kneading the bread, whether you are using the electric mixer or using your hand, you have to put in the work if you want your bread to come out well. So the next thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil. I'm not really measuring this, I'm just eyeballing. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil into the same pan that I mixed everything in, that I mixed the dough in. Not too much. And then I'm going to put this in here, swirl it around a couple of times, turn it over, swirl, and then turn it over. Just like that. No method to this, just make sure the pan is oiled and you swirl the dough in that pan. Now we're going to cover this and let it rise or double in size for at least 1 hour. And then when we get back, we'll go to the next step. So I forgot to show you this. It's like a shower cap. I buy this in bulk. And I'm going to use this to cover the dough. I have to be careful because sometimes it breaks. Anyway, alrighty, let's hope. Okay, so I'm going to cover this. If you don't have this, you can use any plastic that will go over it. Put it in a warm place. It doesn't have to be hot, just somewhere that will be warm so that the dough can rise. So I'm going to put it right in my oven. And it's going to stay there for, I'm going to set this for 1 hour. And then when we get back, we'll be ready to cut and get the baking pan ready before we get the dough rolled out and ready to bake. And what I'm going to do here is to just use a light coating of spray in my baking pan. That's the first step I do. That's the first step. And then I line my pan with parchment paper. When I'm doing my rolls, I like to use parchment paper in the pan. Since they are like individual rolls, parchment paper in the pan is what I like to do. So we're going to put one in here. And then we'll set this aside and get ready to prepare the rolls to put in the pan. Let me grab this, the dough out of the oven. Oh, oh, it has doubled in size. Wow, as you can see, the dough has doubled in size. And so what I'm gonna do first, I already have the board floured. Let me put this away. The board is already floured. I'm just gonna punch this down to get the air out, just like that. And let me add a little more flour here, and we're just going to drop this on the board like that, like so. So we have our dough on the board. We're not going to do any more kneading. Let me grab my pastry cutter. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna get this out of the way. So what we're gonna do right now is to just kind of play with this. You're not really kneading it. I like to kind of bring it together after we get the air out, and just sort of like, you know, play with it until you get it into a ball like this. Not too long, but just to kind of, you know, get it in the shape of a ball. Okay, so once we have that done, okay, I like to like play with it because I want to make sure it's smooth. I don't want any pockets in there. So we're kind of there. Okay, so what we're going to do next is the goal is to grab 24 rolls out of this. So I'm going to cut this first in half. Cut it in half. And then we're going to go again and cut those halves in halves. And then individually, oh, let me cut this. Okay, so we got 20 rolls, approximately 20 rolls that we're gonna make. And so I'm gonna get started rolling these out. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is just simply opening it up with my hand, like rolling it with my hands, my fingers. And then all I'm going to do is to just fold it together, like making a bun, something like this. And you kind of squeeze it together so the ends are like stuck together. You want to make sure the ends are like stuck together. You don't want to leave it open. And that's our first one. I'm going to put it in there. And the second one is the same. Just kind of push it around like you're rolling a circle. And you tuck everything in together. See, you want to hold the ends together neatly and nicely. You don't want to leave the end open. You want to make sure the ends are tucked in. Put that in there. So there you have it. We have 20 rolls in there. And all I'm going to do right now is let it rest. I'm going to cover it and let it rest for about 30-35 minutes. And then when we get back, it will be time to put it in the oven. So it's time to get the buns into the oven. And before putting them in the oven, I'm going to brush them lightly with some melted butter. It's just something I like to do. They come out real golden on the top. And yeah, so I'm going to put this in the oven for about 30 to 32 minutes at 350 degrees. And the recipe is going to be, the ingredients will be listed in the description below, so you can go on there and grab the recipe or the ingredients and just watch the video to complete baking your buns, your rolls, not actually buns but rolls. I like to call them buns sometimes, but I call these rolls. They could be dinner rolls, it could be any kind of rolls, but they just like one of the super easy breads to make. And I make these literally every week, you know, depending on if we have any left, then no. But since I've been making these, I haven't had any left over. Like after 3 days, there's none left. So I literally have to bake these, you know, weekly because my family loves them. And yeah, so we've buttered the buns. There you see it. So I'm going to put them in the oven. And I keep calling them buns, but of course they are buns. I've buttered the rolls and I'm going to put them in the oven for 30 to 32 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The rolls are still warm, and that's how I like my rolls. I'm going to be adding a bit of butter. Let's go ahead and do the taste test, okay? So I'm just going to grab one from the side here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You see, it is so hot. And I'm just going to cut this open because it's still kind of hot to the touch, but look there. See there? See the steam coming out of that bread? See there? This is how I like my rolls. The inside is well cooked and everything. So let's go and give it a try here with a little bit of butter. because that's what we do here. So I'm gonna put a little bit of butter in here, you know, just so I can test it and see how it came out. And yeah, there's nothing like tasting your own food first, you know. So very delicious. Came out really nice. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and be notified whenever I have a new video up.